I have a jogger pocket. Cool. That's what's nice about these. What's that mean? Oh. Go time? Well, so you think we should give it a few? Live scene, baby. What's up, everyone? How are you doing on this beautiful Sunday we are having? Feels like it's 9 o'clock at night, but it's only 3:40 p.m. here in New York. What's up, Diana, Lexi, Joey, the Beck Life? Y'all are my tried and trues up in here. I love you all so much. You are always here, and I'm very excited to have this discussion today. So I'm gonna, hopefully some more people will kind of join the conversation. I did just post on Instagram some stories today. This was a topic that kind of came about recently, but I know Adele just had her interview with Oprah, which unfortunately I haven't seen the whole interview, but I've seen all the excerpts from some of her discussion pieces regarding her weight. So I'm excited to dive on into that with you guys. How's everything sound on your end? Let me know. Make sure everything's good to go before we get into the meat and potatoes. I, of course, had to represent. I stan Adele. Was very fortunate to get nosebleed seats back in 2016 with one of my fellow dietitian friends, who, interestingly enough, her nickname is Mudells. I know that's a weird nickname, but that's what I call her, so it's kind of funny. We went to see Adele together in 2016 in Philadelphia. It was fantastic. It didn't matter that we had nosebleeds. Like, her voice is just, her voice is what we should be talking about, correct? Great. Awesome. So I will be pulling up my phone a couple things because you guys responded. I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on this topic. So I do want to kind of reference some of the information that you guys gave me too and share that because I like to share what everyone's thinking and feeling. But essentially Adele lost 100 pounds, right? And she really did not show her body. It's not like she documented her journey and was like, I'm committing to fitness. You know, she went through a divorce. You know, she had a child. They went through a divorce. And I'm sure, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I'm sure that is so taxing on your soul as a person. And so she just kind of did her own thing and didn't make any of that public, which I respect that. She just did what she needed to do for herself. This is my interpretation of the scenario. So when photos kind of came about showing how small she was, there was some backlash there from, you know, some of the body positive kind of movement folks, people who, you know, commit to that statement and that label, and they felt disappointed in her. And I'm sure that's not the entirety, the entire group, but that was kind of the general message that was coming out at that time, that people felt sad and felt bad and were disappointed in her, that she kind of fell victim to societal standards of how women need to look. And that was their interpretation of it, from what I can tell. And that's just so unfortunate that that became the narrative. And now, of course, every interview that occurs is going to be about her weight. And like I said, I didn't get to see the Oprah interview, but I have my feelings on Oprah and how she interviews people because I feel like she's unfortunately done her part to make things always very weight focused, in particular with women. So I'm not a huge fan, I'll be honest. I'm open to others' opinions on that. Again, I didn't see the interview, so I didn't get to hear the context of that conversation, but I do know Oprah brought that up to her. And, you know, Adele really fought back with some very valid points that I'm so glad she brought to life. Like, I'm glad she didn't just say she didn't want to discuss it. Like, I'm glad she rebutted it because these are things that I think we need to drive home. The fact that she, basically said her body's been a discussion ever since she hit the industry. She's either too fat or now she's too thin. She's going to disappoint someone. I'm sure we can all kind of relate to that. It's just, you have to do things for you and yourself, not what the media expects of you or wants of you, not what family members, not what anyone else wants of you. You essentially have to do what feels right to you, what feels good for you. And I think Adele stands for everything that we all should be striving for. Not now, but even 12 years ago. Like, she is someone that we should all aspire to be like. And I just think it's so unfortunate that she can't win. You know what I mean? She's too big or she's too small. And I really appreciate the fact that she brought to light that, I think what you see from some of the people that felt ashamed, she said, I relate. Like, I know what they go through. I understand why you might feel hurt that you no longer relate to the body type that I am. But it's not her job. It's not her responsibility. It's not her responsibility to make anyone feel good about their weight and their bodies. And that's so true, and I think that's just such an empowering statement. We need to quit focusing on other people's bodies and what they weigh. It should not matter to anyone. It really should not. It's none of your business. It's not your business, right? So I love that she was just like, you know what? I am only responsible for me. Girl, relate. This is why I don't have human children, because for me to even be responsible for myself and Bruce Wayne is enough at the end of the day. What are y'all doing worrying about Adele losing weight? And why shame her? All right, can we have that conversation? Is there anyone who's joining me right now that is on the side that feels like it's okay to shame people for losing weight? That pisses me off. I'm going to try not to swear too much because I know y'all come for me when I swear sometimes too. But the fact that people are shaming her for it is ridiculous. She chose to lose weight. Now, she spoke to the fact that, she didn't make this decision because she was trying to get smaller or skinnier or whatever. She did this because she was having a mental battle with anxiety and her divorce and her entire life changing. And working out became her addiction, her healthy addiction, where she felt strong and she felt empowered and she could just really kind of let off steam. I think those of us who are involved in fitness relate to those feelings of how therapeutic workouts can be, right? It really can be therapeutic. There's weeks that, like, if I don't really get in my good workouts, I feel it mentally. It's more than changing your body. It's more than losing weight. And even if someone wants to lose weight, who cares? Why do you care? Why shame someone? Why shame someone? That's not your place. It's really not. And a few of you actually did comment on my Instagram post saying that you had lost weight and we're being shamed for losing weight too. It's really bizarre. It's a bizarre time in the world. I like the idea of body positivity, but I don't really coincide with all the beliefs of it. I think we should all be trying to gain more body positivity, regardless of weight, shape, size, color, you name it. Like, I think we should all try to be more happy with where we're at right now. Body, career, relationships, being more in the present, being more positive about things. But I just don't understand why that means because someone loses weight, they're no longer body positive. She's like, I was body positive then and I'm body positive now. And I relate to that. And I also like, did you take my phone, Boo? Oh, that's fine. I also like the fact that she said, now I lost my train of thought. Shoots. Why did I lose my train of thought so bad?
Ask him what you were just saying.
What was I just saying? I was going somewhere else with it, with what I read that she was saying. Just the fact that, like, she believes, the fact that she was body positive then, she's body positive now, and she believes that anyone can be body positive. And sometimes, and I understand and I recognize I'm standing here as, like, a thin female, right? But I feel like I see some people say just because they're a white, thin female, they have thin privilege. Have you guys heard that term as well, thin privilege? So I see a lot of body positive, hazed dietitians preaching about, the fact that they can't speak on it because they have thin privilege. I'm curious your thoughts on that, because I feel like, what does that technically mean, right? Because you could look at me and say, oh, she has thin privilege, no opinion. I understand the fact that being thin and fitting societal standards, it comes with some ease, right? It comes with some ease in life. It comes with a lot less judgment, right? You don't have to worry. I think I saw one thing she was saying where like just trying to sit at like a picnic chair, those like plastic chairs that barely I can even fit in. So imagine being a little bit overweight and having to sit in one of those chairs. Imagine having to sit on a couch and people look at you and feel like you need to cover yourself up. Imagine going out to eat and feeling chronically like everyone's looking at you and judging you like you shouldn't be eating. There's a lot of different things that come along with being obese and being overweight, that if you're not currently in that body, you may not understand those discussions. And I am not someone in that body, and I understand that. I do. But I also feel like, part of everyone's journey is different, right? And so I just don't think we should be judging anyone, whether they're big or whether they're small, and whether they choose to change that, right? Whether it's going one side of the spectrum to the other. Can everybody hear me okay? I know Nina just wrote she can't hear me. Cool. All right. So, and I know some of the discussion was like, was she just doing that like revenge body glow up situation? And she was like, suck a dick. No, like I did this for my mental health. Like, why is the conversation not being more about, number one, her album? I have needed Adele in my life since 2016, y'all. Like her music is just so soothing to my soul. Sometimes if I just need a good cry, like I like to listen to Adele. Do you ever just get in your feelings and you want to just be in your feelings? Like Adele albums are where it's at. But I'm glad she's back, and the conversations should be about her music. And I don't think any of us should be shocked what she achieved just because she didn't fit societal standards. Although I do understand like the amount of scrutiny that it appears comes along with being at that level of celebrity and trying to advance your music career. I'm sure she was met with tons of resistance to change her body, and she didn't. But I think people's feelings shouldn't be hurt that she changed her body. She did something that was so good for her mental health. So it's bigger than changing your body. And I think that's a message for everyone, that number one, you're not responsible for how anyone else feels about their bodies, okay? And sometimes that's where I hear folks get shamed for the food they eat. They get shamed when they're trying to be healthier. They get shamed when they're committing to doing better for themselves, because it makes other people feel uncomfortable. And if it's making other people feel uncomfortable, it's likely because they're unhappy with their own selves, right? Like they're unhappy with maybe their own bodies, or because they're not feeling as motivated, or because they're not in the same headspace. It happens with all different kinds of stuff, right? But really in particular with health and weight loss, this is a big thing that, people get shamed about, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I just want to read some of your comments here. Yeah. I like this. MP says, being thin doesn't mean you don't struggle with body dysmorphia. However, yes, society is more catered to thin bodies, and that's not right. I 100% agree. Like, there is thin privilege. I understand that. But it also doesn't mean, and I know you guys probably know this if you've followed me for a while, but I've been on the channel a while. I've shared my struggles, my ups and downs. Like, I had body dysmorphia for a large portion of my life, for sure, and had my own struggles. And it was hard when people just looked at me and were like, oh, well, it's easy because you're a dietitian. Or I remember being just vegetarian and people being like, oh, of course you're skinny, you're vegetarian. And it was like, no, I grew up being weight focused at a small age. Part of why I don't like Oprah. I watched her talk show a lot as a kid, and it was so focused on weight, and there was so much of seeing people be praised for a smaller body at a young age for me. This is my own disclosure here, that it really ingrained that importance and value to body shape and being small very, very hard at a young age for me. So that's where some of my struggles came in. And man, it feels so good to be on a different spectrum of things in my life. Like, whew, glad that is in the past. But I also relate to some of these things that people would assume looking at me I don't relate to, if that makes sense. So, this is an interesting point. I like that Micah writes, I don't care that society is catered to smaller bodies. We don't need to normalize being overweight and obese. Yeah, that's a very interesting point, and that gets a lot of discussion with your body positive folks or HAES folks, because they would disagree with that statement. So, you know, I feel I'm always kind of like a little bit in the middle on this one, because I do love the idea of those in bigger bodies not being so harshly judged and not, you know, being given the same privileges as everyone else, or being treated like a human. Like, I think, you know, this has resonated with me for a bit now, the fact that like our body weight, our body should be the least interesting thing about us. And you know, there was a time early in my bodybuilding career where I felt like that was the most interesting thing about me, right? So when I quit bodybuilding and gained weight, I was like, who am I? What am I doing with my life? I bring no value to the table. I was basing my entire worth on being in this particular body, especially for an image on YouTube, all right? That's really important. It was hard for me to continue YouTube when I felt like I had no value because I wasn't in that body anymore. So yes, I've never been technically overweight or obese, but some of the struggles that can occur are quite a mindfuck. But yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about that statement. In terms of catering to smaller bodies. It's a good point. Yeah, and a lot of this. So I can't complain about my insecurities because I'm skinny. Yeah, absolutely. I feel that. I feel like it's a hard place right now because there's the whole discussion on that, where if you are currently in a smaller body, a society norm body, you're not allowed to have an opinion. And I think that's absolute BS. We are all allowed to have opinions, freedom of speech. We are all allowed to speak them, and we all have our own different journeys and things that lead us to have felt the things we feel. You know, the different things that we've gone through shape us into who we are. So it's bigger than our bodies. It's more than our bodies. So if you are in a body, you deserve an opinion. You're allowed to have an opinion. I'm just reading some of your comments here. You know, there was a period in my life where working out was to be smaller. It was work out to be smaller. Making the shift to work out to feel better is such a different shift. And it doesn't mean that I don't work out and still want to make changes to my body. Yeah, and I'm so sick of people feeling like there's something wrong with doing that. Now, Adele's whole journey, she said, was specifically, it was about her anxiety. It was healing her mental health. It was giving her something positive and empowering to focus on. And of course, she happened to lose a crap ton of weight in the process. I think there was a lot of false media narratives about her body, which is why she was like, I don't even need to have this conversation because y'all are going to have it for me and create whatever stories you want to have. Like, there was a bunch of articles like, I trained her and we did this. People she's never even met before making up falsities about her weight loss. So we as a society are just still very focused on it. Anytime we see someone's lost weight, we want to know what they've done. We want to know what they're doing. We want to know how to do the same thing as them. It's just very glamorized and sexy. And I think I remember hearing like a study in terms of being able to choose if you could live less, like if you could give up 10 years of your life, right, to be skinny, quote unquote skinny, and not have to worry about your weight ever again, like would you do that? And it was a scary high percentage of people that were willing to give up 10 years of their life to not have to worry about their weight. That just tells you, whoo, we got some issues to work through in the weight department. Man, so it's unfortunate. I think that the narrative is about Adele's weight loss. It's no shocker. I don't think to any of us. Someone mentioned in the comments too, she's not the first plus size person. I guess that's how they were kind of attributing her. She was more of like a plus size role model, and we don't have as many of those in the music industry, which I don't know if that's really true or not, but sure, it's not the majority. That's for sure. I can get with you on that. But you can't shame her over that. You have to look within and say, why am I shaming someone because of what they're doing? I can sit here and wholeheartedly say I have wanted to kind of like talk bad about someone because I was envious of what they were doing. You know, I think we could all maybe relate to those feelings, right? When someone's doing something that you wish you could do, but I don't know, use her message to do what you need to do then, to feel better about yourself. You can't live your life based on other people role modeling for you. You have to live your own life, just like Adele said. She's living her life. She is not here to make you feel good about her body. And it reminds me too, did you guys kind of pay attention to Jonah Hill? Do you guys know who Jonah Hill is? Not to digress, but it's kind of a similarity there. You know, his acting career started with him being very overweight. So he was like the classic like overweight funny guy, and then he lost a bunch of weight and then dealt with like shaming in the media for it, and you know, shaming like he wasn't going to be funny anymore because he lost weight. Like, can you imagine how hard that must have been for him to go through? And it was even recently I saw, like, I don't know if it was his Twitter or Instagram, he again was like reminding people like, I don't want you to comment I look good or I don't look good. Like, just don't comment. It's not helpful to me. It's not helpful to anyone. Keep it to yourself. It kind of just reminds me too, like Jason was just talking about this the other day, and I don't think he'll care if I say, but you know, Jason struggles with a chronic medical condition, and it's really hard for him when he's just, you know, it's an invisible disease you can't see, and people are like, oh, you look like you're doing great. And I know people mean well. I know you do, but you know how hard that is for him to process when he's having an absolute shit day and feels horrible, and he's doing everything in his being to stand up and be present and do things to participate in society that day. And sometimes just that one thing is triggering, where it's like, what do you say to that? You know, do you just go down the rabbit hole of, no, I feel like shit, and I always feel like shit, you know, but you put on the smiley face and you try to just say, yeah, thanks, and go about your business. So I just think we need to quit making these types of comments. And it's not to say I'm perfect and don't tell people they look amazing, but I usually try not to comment in regard to someone's body size. You know, I really have tried to avoid as much as I can those conversations, or at least be more mindful of it. I don't know how you guys are, but even when people at work are talking about losing weight, or I need to lose weight, or I need to do this, I try to not participate in them, quite honestly. It gets a bit exhausting to try to defend certain things, and sometimes I'm like, I know I'm a dietitian, but sometimes it's just like not my place. I feel like unless you're hiring me to give you advice. So it's something to be mindful of. And I don't know. Adele, I had always said she was fucking stunning. Like, come on, she's gorgeous. She's literally always been gorgeous. I mean, look at those eyes. Always the perfect wing liner. It's just the most gorgeous person and beautiful soul. Like, the conversations can be more than just someone's body size, right? Reading your comments here. Noodle P says the problem is that body positivity and beauty and value at any size have been conflated with health at any size, and that's dangerous and just not true. Yes, you can be slim and not healthy, but if you're overweight and over a certain age, you will most likely be on the way to metabolic disease and an early death. Yeah, I think that's, you know, something that is discussed and still kind of controversial, if you will. I mean, I can tell you, honestly, I had patients that were considered morbidly obese who had the best metabolic panels I've quite literally ever seen, to a T, labs perfection. Do labs tell the full story? Not always, but they're like a good first indicator of health, right? So for me, that's where I, in practice, saw firsthand that I could have patients that were underweight that were so much unhealthy, and patients that were at a healthy weight, that were so unhealthy compared to a patient that was overweight or obese, based on labs and based on lifestyle. So sometimes people are slim, but they are aging. Maybe they are slim for bad reasons. Maybe they're chronically stressed, they're under eating, they're a smoker and a caffeine person and don't eat any food. Like, I just think, you know, we can't always generalize and say that small is good and big is bad, right? Like, there's a little bit more to it than that. But I do think that we should never shame someone for doing what makes them feel good and feel healthy. Unless it's something that's truly harmful, you're quite literally very, you know, transparent, you're harming yourself or others. That's a different scenario, right? But Danielle relates to my statement in regards to Jason having lupus. I hear you look great when I barely made it out of bed. Yeah, like, those are, people mean well, right? Like, we mean well when we say these kinds of things. And again, I get it. It's 2021. We're so sensitive over every little thing that's said, right? Like, it's a really weird time in the world. Like, you watch TV from 5 years ago and you're like, whoo, you couldn't say that on TV now. But, you know, it is important to kind of think about some of those things that could be potentially triggering to people, you know, and just trying to make your best effort to have more positive, mindful conversations, if you will. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to look at a couple more of your comments too. Courtney shared, I know when I was younger, being told you're so skinny, it pushed me to want to be tiny. Now that I'm older and on the heavier side, weight mentality is a challenge. That makes total sense. As I had shared, I was someone praised for being smaller all the time, especially when my sister was overweight as a kid. So it was like I got this special praise, whereas my sister didn't. It breaks my heart. I can't really talk about it too much. I'll start crying on YouTube. But, you know, I was always praised for being the teeny tiny one. So that was definitely drilled into me as a kid. Like, tiny's good. Tiny is what gets you recognized. It's what gets you ahead. It's where you need to be. It's what makes you desired, valued, gives you attention, all those things, right? But it really ends up being, when you become an adult, it's like, yeah, that is the least important thing about me is my weight on the scale. There are so many other things that you need to know, provide that you're valuable and who you are. You need to look beyond the weight. I'm going to pull up a couple of the conversations that we had on my Instagram post too, just because you guys brought up some good things, so I want to mention those. And I posted like 70,000 times today, so give me 1 second. Donna brings up a great point. Labs work, but doesn't account for joints, knees, ankles, and feet. Sure, that's the other thing to consider too in terms of health. Your body, standing on your feet, if you are someone that stands. And I say that in all seriousness because I come from a clinical setting where you have to understand nursing homes, long-term care, psychiatric centers. Folks are sitting all the time. They're not just standing around. They're always sitting. And unfortunately, in a hospital setting, that's the environment you're in, right? So we don't want to think about going into a nursing home when we get older, but when you're in a nursing home, a lot of sitting going on. So I think sometimes more on the end of life spectrum, if you will, like kind of like geriatric, because that's where my career started, was with geriatrics. So a lot of like what I would look at is patients who were underfed, not eating enough in lifespan comparative to someone who had a little extra body fat on them. And there is some research to support having a slightly higher BMI. Now, I know BMI, we can have a whole separate conversation on that. It's not the end all be all. I'm on the same page with you there. But as we shift into older adults over the age of 65, we tend to increase the BMI range a bit because studies have shown that folks have longer lifespans with a little more body fat than less. I'm not saying aim to be overweight. I'm just saying as we shift to elderly, it pays to not be underweight. That's for sure, in terms of being able to deal with things like pneumonia, or if you fall, these things that come up, and how your body's going to be able to respond to that trauma. We've seen that people with additional fat stores are able to kind of fight off certain things better. But is it just fat stores, or is it like what they were consuming? Is it maybe they're overweight, obese, but they consume tons of fruits and vegetables and they eat a well-rounded diet? I mean, there's so many things you can drill down into, right? People feel like media needs to leave her alone. I'm going to give you guys some of the opinions I have here. Her interview with Oprah was great. She explained about her mental health. Why is health being shamed? See. Sometimes you guys write more than one comment, so I got to read them backwards. Absolutely ridiculous. Let the woman do her thing. I could not agree more. At a time she needed support, she received criticism for how she chose to improve her mental health. It's gross to see people make her journey about them, or just the amount it's talked about. I couldn't agree more. Like, she just came through a divorce. I can't imagine what that's like. Like, even if it was amicable on both sides, I couldn't imagine going through a divorce. I've known friends that have gone through it, and regardless if both parties are on the same page, it can be very challenging and how does it not turn your life upside down, right? So she's going through a lot, went through a lot, and turned to fitness as a means of coping. I don't think you can shame someone for that. Like, how do you say that's bad? Like, how would we shame someone because they go to therapy and start medication? Like, would we shame someone for that? So maybe this was the intermediate step of, let me try exercise. Let me see how it makes me feel. Maybe that step prevented her from needing to go on medication. Like, I want to scream and I want to punch people when I think about this stuff because I don't understand it. You guys can help me understand. If you're on the total opposite opinion of me, feel free to speak up. This is a safe environment here. When I do these lives, I don't intend on people coming here just because you share my opinion. I encourage you to take a different opinion if you have one. That's why I want to have these open discussions. My thoughts and feelings on different topics have changed over time because I learn and I listen, and I'm always open to different ways of thinking about things. And I want you guys to always be open to that as well. Someone says confusing. I don't think we should judge anyone losing weight. That's not body positive whatsoever. And then we've got, the media is portraying how great she looks skinny. There's the other side of the coin. Now that she's skinny, she's getting all this media hype, Shape magazine, health, all these things. They want to know her secrets, right? And she's getting all hyped up because she's now skinny. And the message I get from Adele is she doesn't want that shit either. She's like, this, leave my body out of the conversation is kind of the vibe I'm getting from Adele based on the interviews I've read. Someone writes, can she sing? That's all that should matter. What she looks like is irrelevant. Yes, I 100% agree. But what do you guys think? If Adele was a dog in the face, like if she was a total dog and obese, do you think she would have got to where she was? Buzz's girlfriend, woof. You know, if she looked like Buzz's girlfriend, would she have gotten where she is? We can't deny looks get you somewhere, right? So for her, she had looks, you know. She didn't meet the societal standards for being thin and skinny, but no one can say that woman is not drop dead gorgeous and always has been. Would she be where she is now? What do you guys think? Someone writes, it's sad it's even a topic. To her for getting some mental clarity, like this person said, applaud her for getting some mental clarity with healthier choices. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where those that were shaming her, how do you not support her for doing something that was making her feel good and feel better? That's what it should be about. Leave her alone. It's not healthy to be overweight. Why is it okay to skinny shame? Someone says there's far more interesting things about her. Just leave people's bodies alone. I concur. I think it's her business and her business only. Media shamed her when she was a different weight too. Yeah, too big, too small. It's probably always going to be a topic similar to Jonah Hill. His body still gets talked about a lot. Twin Mom Budget says, I'm not skinny right now by any means, and I hate when people try to put other people down by thin privilege BS. I agree. And Taylin, I'm always very careful with my words when a friend tells me they've lost weight. I don't focus on looks or numbers. I ask about their energy levels, if they feel better mentally and physically. Absolutely. And I even do the same with clients I work with who come to me to try to lose weight. I always try to help them with where they're at and still work with them to lose weight, of course. But I try to start shifting some of their conversations and ideas more on just what you're saying there. Like, how's your energy feeling? Like, are you just feeling better? Like, on a day-to-day basis? Is your energy lasting longer throughout the day? How's your mood? Are you feeling like crap about yourself all day? Are you just feeling like way more positive about yourself? Gosh, we need this world to have more positive people in it with more positive energy. I don't know about you, but there's so much negative energy out there and people just feed upon it. And I know firsthand when you are surrounded by it, it's hard to not get caught in it. It's hard to not get caught in like the negative speaking, and then all of a sudden you're in a bad mood and you're like, ew, like you just want to wipe the ew off you. You're like, why am I in this gross mood now? It's because of all the negativity. You know, you got to surround yourself with positive people. And, you know, I'm not positive all the time, but I like to think that I am generally like a happy person and that I portray positive energy. Like I don't want to be that person that's always complaining or negative. That's not my story. I don't want that to be how I am remembered after I leave this world. But yeah, shifting those conversations when someone's talking about weight can sometimes be tricky. Yeah, I think going by how you feel matters 100% because you can look healthy and feel horrible on the inside. You can be struggling on a day-to-day basis. We need to get back to focusing more on internal health, mental health, and internal physical health as well. MP feels like we need another convo about looks and how life is easier and yet harder in some ways. Such a wild phenomenon. That's certainly the truth. I'd love to get more people like, can I like Zoom call you in here or something and we can have some panel hosts and people discussing different thoughts and feelings. I mean, I try to give you guys my opinions, my clinical experience, and I also try to consider both sides of the narrative too. fender bender. As a thicker girl who has gone up and down so many times, people need to realize everyone struggles, even thin people. We are all brothers and sisters in this world. We should be supporting each other. I love that. I love that mindset so much. It's true, and it's hard to not care about it, right? It's hard to not care about it, especially when it's something people so frequently comment on. You see it and hear it a lot. So even if you're someone that doesn't partake in it, you're thinking, oh man, are they commenting on me every time I lose or gain 5 pounds or something, you know? Like, Diana writes, I think losing weight needs to be guided by a nutritionist and therapy simultaneously. Yeah, I think having a whole team, that's like best case scenario for anyone. Oftentimes, you know, sometimes when folks do want to lose weight, there's other layers there to dive into that's beyond the food, right? We all know this. For many people, not always everyone. Sometimes it's lack of education. They simply don't understand portion sizes. It's lack of access to healthy foods. It's lack of money. There's different things that contribute to people gaining weight. I think we so quickly generalize everyone into the same pool of overweight and they had the same story. No, it's all different. And then there's some people who have gone through trauma and they've gone through some shit in their lives. And that has then kind of impacted their eating choices, right? It's then led itself to controlling the eating choices, whether it be eating more or eating less. We can teeter-totter on either side of the spectrum with eating disorders, whether it's undereating or overeating. So that's best case scenario. You know, as a dietitian, we peel back the layers, but sometimes referring out to a psychologist is another option, or some type of therapist to work through some of the issues at a deeper level. You know, introducing CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, can be a huge asset in conjunction with a weight loss program. Don't know any other way that can heal your worth not based on your body mentality. Yeah, that's not a simple answer on how to change that mentality. That's really, really difficult. It has to come from within you and kind of starting to learn more about why you are basing so much of your value on your body size. Like, you know, if you really start to think about it from childhood, like go back to childhood. I could sit here and name like 5 different things I can think about as a kid that influenced why I felt that way for so long. There was a lot of things that shaped me to why I felt that way. It wasn't that I was damaged. It wasn't that I was odd or different. Like, there were experiences that happened that made me so body number focused at a young age. Once I was able to really kind of like, I've never gone through therapy. I highly recommend it though, but once I was able to kind of better understand where some of those things came from, why I valued that and felt like that was my only value to provide to society, once I kind of combated that in my mind and learned to look elsewhere within myself, I started to value myself more, you know, and I did gain weight. I've always been a small person, but my weight has gone from, I've had a 25-pound weight loss. I've had a 25-pound weight shift as an adult, right? So I've had a difference of 25 pounds, being 25 pounds heavier and less. So I've gone through kind of the motions of gaining weight and dealing with it, and how do I not be so focused on gaining weight like it's this horrible thing for me. I hope that makes some sense. It's going to be a different process for everyone to really dive into how to change that mentality, but it is really important to think about within your own self if that's something you're struggling with. Oh yeah, Rebel Wilson, she's another great one to bring up too. But it's interesting, I feel like Rebel Wilson, she's getting more media attention because she is smaller, right? Like, I think she is still beautiful, funny, confident. She's still doing her thing in movies, but I see so much more media coming up on her because we're all so fascinated that she lost weight and has kept it off. And it's not to say we shouldn't be fascinated with keeping weight off, because we know the challenge is keeping the weight off. Losing the weight tends to be the easiest part, but maintaining the weight loss is kind of something to be a little bit fascinated in, because most people don't succeed in that venture. It's really challenging. You know, the majority of people fall off their plan. So understandable that we're a little bit like, Rebel, how did you do this? And like, how are you still maintaining it? Because it is such a challenge for so many people. Catherine, I love that point. Healthy does not mean the same to everyone. That's a point I make all the time. That one hit me hard when I was doing an outpatient nutrition group at my psychiatric hospital that I work at, and I was doing a needs assessment on health. And when we asked them what health meant, not one person said one friggin' thing about their body size or their eating habits, let me tell you. Health to them meant not being in the hospital. This was a group of outpatients, so mental health outpatients who are still receiving services on an outpatient level. They weren't hospitalized. So health to them was not being in the hospital. Literally, like over 90% of the patients responded in that manner, that's what health meant to them. That was a wake-up call for me. That was a huge wake-up call. There's so much more to health and wellness than your body size. I like this too. MP says, understanding that you don't understand everyone's past experiences or traumas is so important. This is why you can't just have a blanket statement to cover everyone in a group you are labeling. I totally agree with that. That's for sure. Like, we all have those different experiences and different things that could potentially trigger us, right? We're not always going to know everyone's triggers. And we're never going to be expected to be. That's an unrealistic expectation, to be able to censor everything where you're not going to potentially trigger someone. But I think just having these kinds of discussions, like, I'm really glad that this was brought to light. I'm glad it was part of the conversation because of the way she addressed it. Like, I'm glad she chose to just not address it. Yeah, that's a good point too, Joey. So like, Rebel did document her journey. So for the people, you know, that document your journey, whereas Adele didn't, it was just more of a shock to people. You know, it was that shock factor when all of a sudden we hadn't seen or heard from Adele in so long. She was kind of like off the radar a couple years at least, I think, like 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden you see her come back, which if anyone follows Meg Squats, let me know. I think Meg Squats looks a lot like Adele. Like, if she had blonder hair, I guess, because Adele's blonde right now. But both gorgeous ladies, but that's a total compliment to Meg Squats. But yeah, coming out of nowhere with the weight loss, people just were fascinated. It would be like any of us. Think about in your own real life. If you kind of hit out and came back and had lost a ton of weight, I mean, I can speak to this as well. Like, I went to a weight loss camp for a summer, and you literally were going to get disciplined if you didn't eat like your kids on the weight loss plan did. So naturally, all the counselors lost a ton of weight. Unfortunately, it created disordered eating, and like half the counselors as well, disordered thoughts. But I lost like 10 pounds, I think, as an already super teeny little gal. I came back, and I remember going back to college and everyone telling me how amazing I looked. And immediately I was like, okay, did I look like shit before? And also, too, how do I keep this up now? Because I was just on this like super strict summer program where I couldn't eat more than 25 grams of fat a day, and I had to walk 20 steps a day, plus everything else. I wish people wouldn't have said anything, you know, but that's just, unfortunately, we're probably still going to get those comments. They're never going to go away. So knowing how to also respond to them and not let them impact you as much, you know? Twin Mom Budget says, that's the problem with healthy at every size and body positivity. They based off almost the whole personality is based off someone's weight. And then they attack if someone gets healthy or needs to get healthy because they have a complication of being overweight. I've seen them do it to people that were literally one of the top people in the body positivity movements. Yeah, that's a tricky group. I don't think they'd be a Kara Corey fan, quite honestly. And I feel like I hope to see some change there. I hope to see less. Moving forward, I guess what I hope to come of this is just less separation of needing to be labeled and put into a particular little box over here. And if you're not in there, you're no longer part of the club and shame on you. Like, it's so unnecessary. I'm so over labels. A lovely part of getting older, you start to give no fucks. You don't care about labels. Sorry, I'm swearing now. But, you know, research shows intelligent people say the F word quite a bit. So, anyways, I would just like to, moving forward, I hope to see, like someone said, become brothers and sisters. There's so much worse shit in this world to worry about. Why can't we come together? Why do we have to be separated based on body size and diet and whether you're in the body positivity movement or not? And it sucks because as a dietitian, the dietitian field is super split. Like, I don't know if they're even addressing this in academia right now or not, but it's really challenging as a dietitian if you don't put yourself in a box. Like, it's good to kind of get into your little niche, right? In terms of like audience and really like nailing things down from a social media or career perspective, like, you know, but it's taken it to an extreme beyond just like what your expertise is in and having to identify as you're either anti-diet and you're a HAES dietitian or you're over here and you suck. It's literally how it feels in the dietitian community. And as a dietitian, we are the ones that should be the leaders. We are the health experts. We are trained the most on nutrition and nutrition science. Doctors, whoever else, nurses, they do not receive the same type of education that we receive when it comes to understanding the body's biochemistry and how nutrition and vitamins and minerals and metabolism and all of that interacts together. We are the experts. We are the ones that need to lead by example. Yet the whole group of us, it's never been more split. It's a hot freaking mess. I am telling you right now. I didn't go to it, but one of the years at the expo, they did a whole HAES panel with folks who were HAES dietitians and those that were not, health at every size, if you weren't sure what HAES stood for. And it got pretty heated. Like, I watched the webinar or whatever after the fact, and there was really no like coming together. It was very sensitive and it was very like us against them mentality. So if in the medical field your dietitians are split and pointing fingers and against each other, how does that impact all of you guys? How does that impact everyone else? If we as dietitians are sending out mixed messages, that's exactly what's being done right now. And that's what angers me because I feel like it's unnecessary and it's now added this unnecessary stress on people. Like, now people have to feel bad if they're losing weight. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I get it when there's mixed messages in the media like, don't eat McDonald's or, you know, don't eat too much sugar after 8 p.m. Whatever. We're trained to debunk that stuff. But now we have to sit here and attack one another, attack dietitians who help people to lose weight like it's wrong, it's bad, and attack the people for wanting to lose weight and make healthy changes. Where does it end? Like, where does the line get drawn? So I hope moving forward, you know, we can kind of continue to come together and maybe find some middle ground, because I feel like that's where I'm at. I feel like as a dietitian, I have tools in both toolboxes, right? Like, I have tools from over here to help folks lose weight, and I also have body positivity tools that I like to implement and feeling, you know, focusing more on health versus the number on the scale. Like, I feel like I like to integrate all those tools. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm used to. Yeah, you're either part of the group or you're not. And I hope that we can all become one group again, because I feel like until we do, it's going to continue to impact everyone. And social media is where it's at. That's where we go to get our news, right? You're not sitting in front of the TV watching your news at night, right? We get our news from here, from YouTube, from social media. That's how we stay up to date nowadays. So that's what we're consuming. So stuff spreads quick, right? Like things spread quick, trends spread quick. This is also, you guys, why I'm starting what I'm calling my What the Health series. I already did one video about kind of a healthy mindset going into the holidays because so many people struggle with it. But I'm going to continue to add to this series. And I hope you guys make sure you are subscribed to my channel. You can hit the post notification bell. I'm going to be trying to upload a little more often. No commitments, but I am going to be giving you guys the regular nutrition evidence-based conversations, right? Like it's not always going to be this is what you have to do. Like it's going to be let's have a conversation. So some of them I'm going to take to a live stream so that I can hear your opinions and input and see what you guys are feeling and thinking, if it's in line with me or not. But I'll also be doing some like discussion-based videos that I think will just be like a really good playlist for you guys to utilize as you're navigating things, because you know, social media is crazy. Like you see different things every single day. One thing's bad, one day it's bad, next day it's good. You can't keep up with it all, right? So it gets very overwhelming for even a health professional for what you should be consuming. So that series has started. Well, it doesn't say What the Health yet, but it will say that. But I do have one video I uploaded last weekend if you guys want to check that out. And I'll have another video coming this week as well, discussing chemicals in the food you're eating. Yeah, so we're gonna have that discussion. It needs to be had. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. I think we're gonna end the live stream here. I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight for this conversation. I think it's really important to have. I encourage you to have this conversation with others that are in your life, maybe who are on the opposite side of opinions than I am. Maybe there's someone super body focused, number focused, and maybe they're making you feel some kind of way. I encourage you to maybe share with them my video if you don't feel comfortable kind of attacking that conversation yourself, but share this video with folks that you think may benefit from thinking about things from a different aspect. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed, like the video, do all the things. This will be saved to my YouTube channel, so if you join me late, no worries, honey. You'll be able to watch the whole video in full. It'll be live. So yeah, that's it for me, guys.